The Equinoxe Council Area Conference of Traditional Rulers, ECAC, says Equinoxe and the Indian Division is not an experimental ground for barbarism and horrific crimes savage. Reacting to the attack on government bilingual high school Equinoxe, the traditional rulers brought back the issue of 6 divisional delegates kidnapped in Equinoxe on the 15th of June 2021. The traditional rulers, like others, are mounting pressure on actors and the government of Cameroon to end the armed conflict rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon at a time when calls are coming from the far north region and indicating that the death toll on Boko Haram terrorism activities is fast rising. Those of the Mayo-Chanaga division, precisely those of Mokolo subdivision, say that over 20 persons have been killed by Boko Haram terrorists within 1 week in Mokolo subdivision alone. These stories and more will be yours in this edition of the Primetime News. Thanks for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for trusting Equinoxe Television on your primetime news. We live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. We begin on human interest, taking you to a horrific, disturbing incident in Chang, in the Menua division of the west region of Cameroon, where people are crying and shocking and, of course, in a very disturbed mood after the sad incident of Equinoxe in the southwest region of Cameroon. Today is the case of Chang in the Menua of the west region of Cameroon, precisely in the Chwale neighborhood of the town of Chang. 3 children are said to have died after consuming beans and bananas. It is alleged that the food was poisoned, though the poison narrative has not yet been confirmed by officials. It's been a sad moment. All the 3 kids died instantly. We are close on the story and we shall be coming back to it subsequently, but it should be recalled that it is another moment where Cameroonian parents are crying after images of parents crying their kids flooded social media yesterday on the attack in Equinoxe. And talking about the attack on Equinoxe, yesterday reactions have flooded social media and mainstream media in Cameroon. Traditional rulers of the Equinoxe Area Council of Traditional Rulers say Equinoxe and the Indian Division is not an experimental ground for savage barbarism and horrific crimes. Reacting to the attack on the school, the traditional rulers raised back the issue of 6 divisional delegates who were kidnapped on Equinoxe on the 15th of June 2021. The divisional delegates are still nowhere to be found, and the traditional rulers also raised back the Kumba massacre and other issues, calling on actors to see how they can end the Anglophone crisis. But also on the page of reactions, we will be having that of the Social Democratic Front, the youth of the Indian Division, and also some key political actors, especially the group of Cameroon Federalists and civil society actors. Immaculate Fogwe compiled some of the reactions in the following reports for you.
Widespread condemnations have stormed social media following the Equinoxe massacre that left 3 students and a teacher dead, with many others injured. The Equinoxe Conference of Chiefs, during an extraordinary Zoom meeting held the same day the incident occurred, condemns what they describe as bestial, savage, barbaric, horrific and traumatic attack meted by unknown individuals. They equally extend their heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families. The chiefs equally highlighted the fact that 6 divisional delegates kidnapped in Equinoxe on the 15th of June 2021 are still in captivity. They are calling the attention of the international community, particularly those countries harboring sympathizers of the conflict. They regret that Equinoxe and Dan Division as a whole have been transformed to an experimental ground for all sorts of crimes. The Cameroon National Youth Council Bureau for Dan Division equally condemns the act of violence, while praying for the repose of the souls of all those who passed away and the quick recovery of injured victims. Joshua Osi, Vice President of the Social Democratic Front SDF party, on his personal page describes the shooting as shameless and senseless act of terrorists. The coalition of Cameroon federalist groups and activists equally condemns the act while describing the war as senseless. They are calling for immediate cessation of hostilities and the setting up of a Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission.
The attack on Equinoxe that left 5 persons dead has widely been linked to the armed conflict rocking the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. The conflict has been on for 5 years, with several persons killed, thousands and several hundreds of persons displaced, some internally and some sent out of the country into the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria as refugees. And the crisis, others argue, that was provoked by wide marginalization and concerns of the lack of basic social amenities and underdevelopmental issues in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. 5 years into the war, the several parts of the English-speaking regions continue to complain of problems in Manu, a divisional chieftain of Ndian. That is the Manu divisional chieftain of Manfi. Inhabitants say that Manfi has several problems, running from lack of mobile telephone network signals to electricity. Simanji Kangebe tells us more in the following report.
Inhabitants of Manu Division in the southwest region have been for months without electricity, and even making normal calls in the vicinity at times is difficult.
We have the issue of network.
It becomes so difficult for us in Manu because we don't have network. We are managing some small MTN network, might be trading in through Nigeria or so. So we think that they will improve on our network situation here.
Notwithstanding these difficulties, business operators and taxpayers within Manu Division have been told about the new system of tax declaration. This was during a workshop that took place in Manfi.
It's going to permit taxpayers from the comfort of their homes and from the comfort of their respective offices or business premises to go online and declare their taxes. We know the fiscal system in Cameroon is declarative. And because it is declarative, these reforms bring the taxpayer at the center of this reform. And the simplified procedure permits the taxpayer to be able to go online and declare. Another second strong point with regards to this reform is to bridge the gap that has to exist between the fiscal administration and the taxpayers in order to curb corrupt practices. And we know that this is an element that our Director General holds in his heart very seriously.
According to the Divisional Chief of Taxation, this system brought in by the government is very efficient as issues relating to irregularities will be controlled.
Most important aspect in terms of government is to secure the revenue that is collected. And this reform brings about the aspect of securing revenue for government, because prior to this moment, the revenue was paid through the classic method, either at the level of the offices and maybe giving room for some leakages that are not necessary and that deprive the government of its hard-earned revenue. I think with this reform, we're able to do the checks and balance and avoid this phenomenon.
Manfi being a border town between Cameroon and Nigeria with several business exchange taking place at Equinoxe, the business operators say the workshop was a timely initiative and the new system of tax declaration is less stressful. The workshop was chaired by the senior divisional officer of Manu Division, who told the people of Manu to respect the new system of tax declaration.
Those who live out of the far north region of Cameroon probably think that the concern of atrocities from Boko Haram terrorist group members is a thing of the past. But no, inhabitants of Toro, which is a village in Mukulu subdivision of the Mayochanaga, say that death toll from Boko Haram atrocities is fast on the rise. They say that over 20 persons have been killed by Boko Haram terrorist fighters within 1 week in the locality. They are crying and asking the government of Cameroon to reinforce security in Toro, in Mukulu, the rest of the Mayochanaga, and the entire far north region of Cameroon. Malak Glory tells us more in the following report.
In
Insecurity continued to gain grounds in Toru, a locality in the Mokolo subdivision of the Mayotanaga division, far north region of Cameroon. In a space of 1 month, over 20 persons have lost their lives following the attack by the Boko Haram terrorist group. We are frequently being terrorized by this terrorist group. We are not asking the government to provide each house with a security officer. We wish a military base be established here in order to control the main entrance, else those who cannot run will be killed. About 5,000 persons of the Gucci, Tufu and Hidua locality have deserted the area to find refuge on the mountains. Learners move from the mountains to the classrooms with luggages including books and sleeping materials. Here I have books, luggages and bed sheets on the other side. This is how we the students of Toru go to school. The only government school left in Toru is about to close its doors. This because the insecurity is affecting both the students and the teachers. 95% of our students spend their nights on the mountain, and we start classes most of the times late because we have to wait for everyone to come down from the mountain. We start classes at 8:30, and this affects the results of the students. The vigilante group on whom the population depended is about giving up the fight following the death of 18 of their members. They say the government has failed in assisting them with required weapons and resources.
20 persons killed within 1 month or not 1 week, as you got there from Mala Glory. And in Ezeka, in the Nyong-Ankele division of the central region of Cameroon, business persons are counting their loss. They say that the epileptic electricity supply in the area has affected them enormously, especially those who deal with perishable goods. Smart Jikangebe takes us to Ezeka in the Nyong-Ankele.
Panels and generators are the most common items one could see along the streets in Ezeka, a locality in the Nyong-Ankele division of the Central region. The people here have been without electricity for several days now, without any details from the company in charge of the production and distribution of energy.
Because of light, we don't have light now. We are going through generator. We spend a lot of money in buying petrol every second, every minute. So we are spending a lot of money now in Zeka. Since last morning, we are not working here. Things are very hard for us.
Business operators who deal in perishable food items are the highest hit because their products get rotten. Others have been unable to finish work brought to them by their customers because of the lack of electricity supply, while some have been on a technical break, making life at home very difficult with their families. With this my machine, when all is good, I go home with at least 5,000 francs CFA, but as it stands, no money and we are tired. Charging of mobile telephones have become payable due to the absence of electricity supply. The people of Ezeka are now calling on the company in charge of the production and distribution of electricity to come to their rescue.
Smart Jikangebe then reporting, and now we take you to something else, talking about the life of Baba Simon, and to say that the extraordinary life of Reverend Simon Peke, also known as the Baba Simon, was celebrated by officials of the Roman Catholic Church in Cameroon. Baba Simon was described as a veritable a real man of God. Charles Abane commented us more in the following report.
En ce jour où nous célébrons Baba Simon et faisons recours à la paix, car il a été apôtre et disciple de la paix.
Celebrating the extraordinary life of Reverend Simon Peke, also known as Baba Simon, an apostle of peace, who is considered the bridge between the Christians of the south and the Muslims of the north of Cameroon. He began his journey in 1935 on the left banks of the river Sanaga around Edea in the south of Cameroon, and ended in apotheose in 1975 at Chokumberi in the north region of the country. Though little is known about him, men of God believe his life should be an example for many.
Les Camerounais ne connaissent pas toujours suffisamment. Baba Simon est
Cameroonians don't really know much about Baba Simon. He is an apostle recognized by the Roman Catholic Church as a model vis-à-vis spiritual life.
De chemin spirituel pour aller vers Jésus.
To Christian faithfuls, the life of Baba Simon doesn't need to only be celebrated, but copied by people so they can build a better society. I am happy because I now know the story of Baba Simon. I know that he was someone who represented integrity, and God guided him to bring more people to his light.
I'm so glad, and I know that the foundation will try to make it inside the education system. The Cameroon will be better. Now, as you are living the story about our Nada the Southwest region, so I just want to thank you, and I pray that the project grow and be more than what it is now.
All that said, the life of Baba Simon remains iconic, and his character traits remain engraved in the minds of so many Christian faithfuls. Some scholars even argue that he deserved a Universal Nobel Prize for Peace, like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, or better still, Nelson Mandela.
And in sports, the official list of candidates retained for the race to the presidency of the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, has been published by the Electoral Commission. Amongst the 6 files retained, we have Samuel Itofis, Jean Kripenyamsi, Jose Denis Onana, Justin Tagu, Saidou Mbombonjoya, and Zachary Wanja. Those are the 6 persons who will be gunning in for the presidency of the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT. The list was released today, and it should be recalled that several other persons deposited their files at the head office in Chinga, Yaoundé, but their files were rejected by the Electoral Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. Coming up is Talking Point. On Talking Points today, we are receiving Nde Vitalis Tange. He is Protection Officer, Coordinating Unit of Associations of Persons with Disabilities in the Northwest Region of Cameroon. Vitalis, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Good evening, Tanda. Thank you very much for inviting me on Equinoxe TV.
Yeah, you are from the Northwest Region, one of the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon that has been buried in a 5-year-long Anglophone crisis or armed conflict. How has the crisis affected persons with disabilities, including yourself?
Well, Tanda, I will say this with a very heavy heart, that persons with disabilities generally have faced a lot of challenges. The crisis have left untold stories on persons living with disabilities in the Northwest and in the Southwest region particularly. I think persons with disabilities listening to me now will bear with me that their economic lives have not been the same since 2016 when the crisis started. Their social activities that they used to carry out, most of them have dropped, and some of them have actually gone out of notice by many who used to be their fans.
Yes, I will use this statement. In 2019, Seremovic, who is the senior disability researcher at Human Rights Watch, said that people with disabilities have faced attacks and abuses by belligerent parties, often because they are unable to flee when people are running, and citing other cases. But with some examples, can you actually point at some of the instances and cases where we've had the rights of these people really touched by belligerent parties in this conflict?
Thank you once more for this opportunity. we have the situation in Kumbu, that is Jakiri, that is in the Bui division, a man who was brutally beaten mercilessly by the security forces after he wanted to board a vehicle to Bamenda town, running away from the crisis because the crisis had intensified in that area. We have situations where persons with a person with a disability was actually killed, burnt in the house in Mai 90 in Songwa. We have situations where a person with a disability, even though on wheelchair, security forces did not still spare her life. They still shot at her, and these are some of those that we have actually recorded,
documented.
Yes, and if you get to Human Rights Watch, you will find it. You get to our archives, our reports as a coordinating unit, you will also find these results.
And all this is happening with us in 2019. The UN Security Council adopted a resolution that is supposed to be binding. Actually, it's binding on member countries, including Cameroon, on the necessity to protect, to give maximum protection to persons with disability in conflict regions, cases of the northwest and southwest regions.
That's quite true, and but I will tell you that even before the coming of that particular law, which Cameroon actually ratified, Cameroon also had her own laws, which in fact were not respected. But they say where international law and national law conflict, international law takes precedence. It is not only in the case of the northwest and southwest region and relating to persons with disabilities that the government of this our beloved country has actually refused to honor the rule of the law, but we have seen several cases, and that pertaining to persons with disabilities is not an exception. So I will say here that persons with disabilities, they are living in a lawless state. I will say this without any fear of contradiction, without any favor too, that persons with disabilities are living in a lawless state where the government just look down on persons with disabilities, no assistance given to persons with disabilities, targeting persons with disabilities. We have not had that, and so I don't think there is any source of anything like protection in the light of persons with disabilities from the government.
We also know that there are enormous challenges even when they succeed to flee and actually go to different places, right? And yes, to host areas, they're having challenges. And some of them are not easily accepted. We also know the challenges of getting to restart a life in a different area. It's not, first of all, easy with people who are fully able. Now, I want us to go first at the level of the coordinating unit. What are you people actually doing at that level?
We have actually, since 2019, between 2018, getting to the end of 2020, we actually carried on a survey wanting to know the amount of IDP persons with disabilities who left various areas in the northwest region and are settling in the urban areas of the northwest region, and we came to understand that what we got, although not all, but what we got, we found out that 1,681 persons with disabilities left various divisions and subdivisions of the northwest region and were settling in the Bamenda.
That's a very high number and a disturbing one. But when you have opportunities like trainings, like the one ongoing in Douala on media professionals, on how to work with issues, inclusive messaging involving these persons with disabilities, what is expected of the people concerned, actors? You are actually a participant.
Yes, actually, we at the level of the coordinating unit, our zeal and one of our role is to bring the plight of persons with disabilities to the limelight, so that persons with so that actors humanitarian actors can actually meet the needs of persons with disabilities specifically, and not just giving what they have. Well, we do well to sensitize the general public. We do well to come on TV and go out on radios like we have done now, to do a massive sensitization of the public about the plight of persons living with disabilities.
All right, thank you very much, De Vitalis Tange. You are Protection Officer, Coordinating Unit of Associations of Persons with Disabilities in the Northwest region of Cameroon. It was interesting having you.
Oh, we share the pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for staying with Equinoxe. We urge you to stay in the company of interesting programs on your #1 television channel.